And just like that, another 72-hour fast is almost in the books. That's right. 70 hours and 3 minutes actually is where I am this week. And as you know, we've been using fasting as one of those amazing tools to help us reverse diabetes, to help us improve metabolic health, to get off of those medications, to get better, to live healthy. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new you. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to improve their health, who want to reverse their diabetes, who want to get off of medications, who want to improve their metabolic health. And that's what we do here. If you're new to me, also go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And let you know that I'm happy that you're here. Also, if you have questions as we go through the evening, as we go through the show, go ahead and drop those in the comments and make sure you put a Q in front of it so that we know that that's one that we want to get to. Here in our process, we are using fasting as a tool to help us put diabetes in remission, to help us reverse diabetes. And as you know, on a weekly basis, I do a fast. And this week, we are 70 hours into our 72-hour fast. In another couple hours, we'll be having 72 hours this week. And we'll talk a little bit more about what happened earlier this week. I shared a little bit of that on our show yesterday in our check-in. But today we're going to go and we're going to show you some more information. And you know how I do here on the show. I've got my meters off to the side that we're going to look at to see what my blood sugars are. And then right below me, right there, you'll see my Dexcom Clarity app that we'll take a look at here in just a minute. If you've not done so, make sure you get back and see our show from earlier this week, suppressing appetite, right? That is the second pillar of reversing diabetes. The first is decreasing insulin, suppressing appetite, and then reducing sugar. So make sure you get back and you look at that there from earlier this week. I just want to say some shout outs. I do see Jennifer, one of our community members out there. Hey, Jennifer, welcome. She says, howdy all. Glad that you are here. And let's see, we've got some folks over on Instagram as well. And so we are back, y'all. We're right now streaming on Instagram. You know, we were off for a little while. And then, of course, we're not on X or Twitter right now due to some changes that they had in their policy. But if you have some friends, if you have someone that you've invited, someone that you don't see here, someone that you know that needs to be here, go ahead and send them the link. Let them know that we are live and that we are in the process of learning how to improve our metabolic health and how to reverse our diabetes. And that's what we're talking about today, right? So we are doing reversing. Right? That's what we do. So let's do some background. Let's talk a little bit about where we are, where we're coming from, and what our plan is. So new year, new you. That is the plan for the year. And new year, new you is the process that we are using to reverse our diabetes. In the course of our the year so far, we've done shows on several things and we've learned several tools. One of the tools that we learned is the tool of fasting, right? We've learned the whys and the fasting and the heat model. If you've not seen those, go ahead and watch those shows. We've learned about emotional intelligence and how to use that and how to manage medication. Even those things we've done. And you'll see there that our process works not just for diabetes, but it works for several metabolic diseases because diabetes is the prototypic, right? It is the ultimate metabolic disease. And so if we can do something that works for diabetes, then it extrapolates to all those other things. So if you're out there and you're sitting and you're saying, wait a minute, I'm not diabetic. I don't need to listen to this. No. Because you're not diabetic doesn't mean that this doesn't work, but it works for all of those metabolic diseases. And we're going to be sure that you are using the process to your benefit. Okay? And so here on Fridays, we do a check-in. I do a check-in actually each night that I do my fast. I typically fast from Wednesday Tuesday to Wednesday, Wednesday to Thursday, Thursday to Friday. So 72 hours. Over the last several weeks, I've done several check-ins where I've actually fasted for longer. So I did a 96 hour and a 105, I think, hour fasting one week. And then some interesting things happened this week, right? So we had a team member that was leaving our practice, and she was moving on to doing some other amazing things. And so we took her to dinner. And so I fasted from from Sunday into Monday, and dinner was Tuesday. So Tuesday night, I was at 46, 42 hours or something like that. And so I broke the fast at 42 hours. I had dinner and then picked the fast back up as I normally would do on a Tuesday anyway. And so that puts me here now at close to 72 hours of the fasting. We'll come back and I'll make another point about that. But before we do that, let's go ahead and let's take a look and let's do our check-in so that you know where I am and how I'm feeling. Now, I'm hearing a little bit of buzz in my ear. So if you are hearing that out there, let me know and I'll see if I can make some changes and corrections. I'm not sure where it's coming from. Actually, give me just a second. All right, so I still hear it, but if you're hearing it there, if you hear it, Jennifer, or anybody else, just put yes that you hear, because I'm a little bit buzzing in my ear. But other than that, let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's do our check-in. And so in the check-in, I want to talk about how I'm feeling physically, how I'm feeling mentally, and how I'm feeling emotionally. Because these are the spaces, these are the places where if people are having challenges, where they will find those challenges, right? In the physical, mental, and emotional. And so physically, often we talk about lightheadedness, dizziness, sweatiness, feeling like you are tired and weak or your energy is drained. And often people will feel that, particularly as they transition, if they've been doing an extended fast, as they transition from burning sugar, glycogen, glucose, to burning ketones, which the body does as you move into longer and longer fast. And so those times people can feel some dip in energy. And we'll talk a little bit here about preparing for the fast. And how that impacts this particular area. Right now, I'm actually feeling pretty good. Now, this was an amazing week, and it's an amazing week coming up, so I'll talk about that. But I'm full of energy. I'm full of excitement. I'm full of just anticipation because we're having a trip that's coming up, and so we've been preparing. Actually, I've been out most of the day, packing the van, packing the truck, packing the bus. And so, there's a lot of energy. Now, one of the things that happens to me, and you guys may see it or feel it as I'm talking to you, certainly when I'm playing my videos in the office or I'm talking to people and I direct them to the YouTube, they will say, man, you look like you're having fun. And I'm having fun. And in fact, when I get off air, you can probably plug a light bulb into me or screw a light bulb into me and it would light up with the energy that I get from being in this space. So physically right now, feeling good. I'm not having any palpitations or feeling weak or tired, right? Mentally, this is another place where people can sometimes feel cloudy or foggy or dull, particularly if they are in those early phases of fasting because the blood sugars are dropping. I am not feeling that. Also, in addition to fasting for an extended period and having the clarity that comes with those ketones, that excitement that I'm having that's pushing me through the anticipation of our trip is, I think, kind of making me focused, right? And I've had a lot of things that I've got to do here to get ready for our show, for what's going to happen as I move out, and to be present for you even while I'm away. So preparing all of that has been very exciting for me. And then emotionally, hey, what do you think? Right, not having the issues right there. I have been staying up a little later, right? So granted, Last night I came in and I actually went to sleep very early. So because I was anticipating the work for this morning and what I needed to do for today. So my energy was very good, and emotionally there is all of the I don't know if it's endorphins. Oh, some kind of hormone is going on. So maybe that's the dopamine, right? That anticipation. I'm getting that dopamine hit right now from just anticipating the trip. All right. So that's how I'm feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally. So let's go ahead and take a look at blood sugars. And you may have seen one of my monitors show up here a little while ago. That was my Libre. And let's take a look at that right now. So my Libre is saying that my blood sugar at this moment is 65. And you'll see down at the bottom that the blood sugar went down, 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 and you'll see down there it is down into the red. Okay, and let me pause for a second because I see Jennifer says that she doesn't hear a buzz, not a buzz, but she's hearing something. And let me see if I can get rid of some of that. Hold on a minute, y'all. All right, so let's see. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Thank you for your assistance there, Jennifer. All right, so hopefully that's a little bit better. I don't hear it as much. I still hear it, but not as loudly as it did before. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at my blood sugars. And once again, you'll see there, this is the Libre saying that my blood sugar is 66. Down at the bottom, we've got the graph that's kind of winding down, and you see that it kind of in the middle of the morning went up, and then has been steadily going down over the course of the afternoon, starting maybe about 5 or 6 o'clock. Let's take a look at my Dexcom, and so the Dexcom right now is saying 77, and you see down there at the bottom it says that this will expire in about 24 hours, and then you have 12 hours grace period, basically 36 hours from now. We'll have to change that. So we'll do that as we go. All right, so that's there. And let's take a look now at what my meters are saying. And so I have a Keto Mojo meter, and then I have a Contour, right? So Keto Mojo will give me both ketones, and it would also give me glucose. And then, of course, the Contour just gives me the glucose. So let's go ahead and get a strip into the Contour. That's it right here. And then we'll start with the with the blood sugar for the Keto Mojo. And as I do this, go ahead and put in the chat, what do you think my blood sugar is going to be based on these guys? And then what do you think my ketones are going to be, right? So I've been fasting now 70 hours and 16 minutes. Okay, 70 hours, 16 minutes. And then now let's get a Lancet, and this is a typical Lancet. And I think I've said to you before that they come in different flavors, basically same format, purple top with white, and then white top with purple, same idea. Okay. All right, let's see. Jennifer says my Libre says 112 after tomato, green beans, and sweet corn from the garden, and local raised beef. Supper was good. All right, we'll come back. We'll pop that up in just a minute. All right, so let me pop over to this view because I'm using a different finger today, and typically I do one finger, and that finger has a little callus, so sometimes it doesn't give me a good drop of blood. So I'm going to use a different one. And then I want to bring this up so that you can hear it. Okay, hopefully you heard that. And then let's pop over and see if we got a good drop of blood. And yep, we did. There you go. As you know, sometimes, particularly if your fingers are a little cold or cool, then you may not get a good drop. So the Keto Mojo is running. So Keto Mojo says 73. So 73 for the Keto Mojo. The Contour says 63. So 10-point difference between those. And then, of course, the Dexcom says 76. And the Libre says 63. Okay. So now let me go ahead and I'm going to take out the strip for the blood sugar from the Keto Mojo. We'll get a strip in for ketones and then get that started. So if you think you know what my ketones are going to be, go ahead and drop that in the comment. And of course, as I normally do, I'm not going to let you see that right now. We're going to hop over and we're going to do something else. All right. And then, of course, I'm going to take them off the screen because I change my scene and then you end up seeing what it is. Okay. But let's go ahead and let's have our conversation. So fasting, so Friday fasting check-in, right? So 70 hours, now a little bit over 70 hours, so 70 hours and 19 minutes. If you've been following me over the course of this past week and last week, we did an extensive review of several of the different types of fasting, whether it's intermittent fasting or alternate day fasting, extended fasting, 5 and 2 fasting. So lots of different ways of doing fasting. The general idea, though, is that fasting works to reverse metabolic disease. Right? So that is the premise and that is the push. If you saw my check-in last night, if you didn't see it, that's a good one to look at because I ran through different types of fasting methods and the science behind them, the studies that were done, and what diseases they treated, what metabolic diseases they treated, even to treating neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and having benefit in cancer treatment. Okay, so shrinking the tumor doesn't grow as bigly, or as big, I said bigly, or the tumor responds better to chemotherapy, right? So all of this stuff is done with fasting. And so when we're fasting, I want to go through now with you what happens during fasting, how do we prepare for the fast, make it through the fast, and how we break the fast, because those are very important, because the way that you start the fast or you prepare for the fast is just as important as the fast itself and just as important as breaking the fast. So I'm going to be breaking the fast here in another hour and some. I have not prepared yet what I'm going to eat to break the fast. I have some things in the refrigerator that I have, probably some chicken. And as you know, I normally do cheese, although I'm starting to think that cheese is probably not the best thing for me because I eat a lot of it. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. All right, so let's hop over and let's take a look at our fasting. So fasting review, what do you need to know? What do you need to know? And when I talk about fasting, I usually break fasting up into 3 different phases. Preparing for the fast, the actual fast itself, and then getting out of the fast or breaking the fast. Right, so those are the different phases. As we get into the fast itself, you can do different types of fasts. I'm going to do a review here of 24 to 36 hours. You can when I talk about fasting, I break it up into 24-hour chunks. So first 24 hours, then the next 24 hours or 48 hours, then the next 24 hours or 72 hours. But we'll do a review here of going through the first 24 to 36 hours. So preparing for the fast. When we're preparing for the fast, very important things that I want you to know. And there are 4 things. Number 1, you want to make sure that you are well rested. Yes. And that goes back to when I was doing my check-in. Remember, I talked about how I'm feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally. Often, when people get into the physical discussion, they say they feel weak, tired, lightheaded, shaky, dizzy. Often, that's because of the preparation. If you are not well rested, then the fast itself doesn't go as smoothly. And your body remembers that. And the next time you need to fast, the brain will say, oh, you remember that last time when we tried to fast? That didn't quite work for us. So let's not do that again. Okay? So being well rested allows your body to go through the fast without you having challenges that then get associated with fasting when it's not a fasting issue. It is really that you're tired. You didn't sleep. You were up late for the last 2 days, and then you went into the fast. You recall several weeks ago, I had been staying up late doing videos and doing some other things in the space, and that particular week I was a lot more challenged in terms of my fasting because I wasn't well rested. Okay, and that's the key. You want to make sure that you are well rested. So that number one, make sure you're well rested. Number two, make sure you're hydrated. Yeah, so during the fast, you got to be hydrated, but coming into the fast, you want to make sure you're hydrated as well. I've got my cup here. Okay, and because if you're not hydrated, then you can get lightheaded and dizzy, because if you're not hydrated, you're dehydrated, so blood pressure can go down, right? And that causes some wooziness, I said wheeziness. And so people begin associated that also with fasting. And if you are not hydrated as you get into the fast, then you can have lots of difficulty, particularly with electrolytes and with mentation, because you're not hydrated. You have problems with blood pressure, as I just mentioned before, and that causes other issues. If your blood pressure is low, then your heart will speed up to try to compensate, right? Because it has to get oxygen to you even though you have low blood pressure. So it picks up either pumping hard or the speed so it can get the blood flow going, so it gets you the oxygen. So people begin feeling palpitations. Palpitations show up, and sometimes people interpret that as anxiety, and so their cortisol level goes up, epinephrine goes up, and it just causes this big cascade. So making sure you're hydrated is very, very important. The third is to make sure that you're not coming out of or going into a stressful situation. Right. So coming out of a stressful situation or going into a stressful situation, because all of the hormones that are going on, all of the cortisol, the epinephrine that is happening during the stressful situation get transplanted into the fast. Or if you're going into a stressful situation, right, so you're anticipating that and the cortisol level goes up. You remember I did a check-in several weeks ago that I was going to speak in Mississippi, and I was a bit anxious about the thing I was going to do. And so I went into my wife's office, and I just felt agitated, just felt on edge. Okay, and realized what was going on. So I went downstairs, walked around the hospital for about half an hour, came back in, and that cortisol level had been depleted. The cortisol had subsided, and so I didn't feel that anymore. Okay, and that was during a fasting period. So I was thinking I need to eat something. Well, it wasn't the eating problem. It was just the anxiety that was there causing the cortisol to go up. So making sure that you're not coming out of or going into a stressful situation. And then the third one or fourth one has to do with your non-fasting eating. You want to make sure that you're eating nutrient-dense foods. So if you are skimping, if you are not eating a balanced meal during the time when you're supposed to be eating, then that makes it more difficult during the fasting period, okay? Because you can get deficiencies that show up. Once again, I mean, this goes back to hydration as well, making sure you're hydrated during the time you're supposed to be eating. So make sure you're rested, make sure you're hydrated, make sure you're not in a stressful situation at the time of the fast, and then making sure that you are eating a nutrient-dense meal on your non-fasting days or you're in your non-fasting windows. That sets you up for success during the fast. And the way you come into the fast is just as important as the fast itself, which is just as important as breaking the fast. Okay, so all three phases are important. So you can't skimp on one. So fasting, pre-fasting or preparing for the fast, and also breaking the fast. So that's the idea behind the fast. And so, as I said, I break the fast up into 24-hour chunks. Here we're going to be doing a little bit more granular description of some of it. We'll break it up into smaller chunks and go through what's going on in the body and what are some of the changes that you will see, some of the things you will feel as you move through the fast. The challenge for everyone has been for you to begin fasting for a 24-hour period. A 24-hour period. Now, if you are shorter fasting, that's okay, but let's work our way so we can begin fasting for a 24-hour period, and we're fasting once a week for 24 hours. Okay? As I mentioned before, if you have some other significant metabolic diseases that need to be managed, you may have to intensify your fasting. So while intermittent fasting, like a 12 and 12, a 16, 8, 23, 1, all of those work and they do give you benefit. If you have significant metabolic issues, you may need to fast for extended periods for a while and then get back to the intermittent fasting. Remember, fasting is a tool, and all of the fasting methods will work. As we mentioned yesterday, some of them have particular things that they've been studied to do, but all of the fasting methods work. They give improvement in metabolic diseases. And so it's a matter now of saying, okay, what is the thing that I'm trying to treat? What is the thing that I'm trying to get benefit in? And picking the right fasting method for doing that, okay? And so as we walk through the fasting, and extended fasting is what we're talking about, then you will see that along the way, you can have benefit even if you're fasting for that period of time. Okay, so the description is going to be for an extended fast. And when we say extended, we're talking about 24 or longer. But even as we get to a 16, 8, or an 18, or 23, we're seeing benefits there as well. Okay? All right. So the first phase is called the postprandial phase. And this really is when you just stop eating. So this is the first 0 to 6 hours. So you ate. It's not time to eat. Well, for a lot of us, we eat every 4 hours, right? But it's not time to eat again, or you've decided you're not going to eat, or it's dinner time and you ate, and now it's, you ate at 6 o'clock, and now it's 3 hours later, 9 o'clock, you're getting ready to go to bed in a little while, so you're not eating again. So the first 6 hours, 0 to 6 hours, called the postprandial phase. And what happens during that period is where the body is processing the food, is processing the last meal that we ate, and is now absorbing the contents of that food. Blood sugars are elevated, insulin levels are high, right? We have lots of energy because there's a lot coming in, right? So the process that's going on is that digestion, the absorption of the nutrients, the breaking down of the food that you just ate, and your energy levels are peaking because you're at the peak, at the maximum amount of sugar, maximum amount of protein, maximum amount of fats that are being extracted from that food, 0 to 6 hours. And like I said, energy levels are high, and the body is using that glucose. It is pumping the heart, it's pumping the lungs are being used, so you're aerating, the brain is going, the digestive system is moving, muscles, if they need to, they're pulling up energy from the food that you just ate. The postprandial phase, 0 to 6 hours. And then the early fasting stage, 6 to 12 hours. 6 to 12 hours. And here, a lot of people will do a 12 and 12 fast. Okay, so here it is. This is you've eaten. This is 12 hours of fasting now, and some people at this point start eating again. So the physical state, so insulin levels are decreasing, and glucagon levels are going up. Remember, insulin and glucagon are opposite hormones. The insulin says, hey, there's a lot of food, and glucagon says there's not a lot of food. And when we talk about food, we're talking about sugar. Right, so as you eat and the blood sugar levels go up, then insulin peaks. Insulin comes out, and insulin is the main hormone. As those blood sugars start to go down because your body is using some of it up, the insulin levels begin to decrease, and as insulin goes down, then glucagon goes up. because insulin's job is to store, and glucagon's job is to make the blood sugar go up higher. So those of you who are diabetic who've ever had glucagon used, we prescribe, or if you're on insulin, we prescribe a glucagon pen. It's an emergency pen. So if your blood sugar goes down, you take a shot of glucagon, and that will cause the blood sugars to rise. So that's what glucagon does, opposite of insulin. So the glucagon signals the liver to start releasing the stores of glucose. So think of the liver kind of like your refrigerator. So when you go to the grocery store, if you go to one of the big stores, you buy some food, and you come home. You're gonna cook some of it, right? Da, 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 and you put the leftovers in the refrigerator. And then the excess, so if you go to like somewhere like Sam's or Costco or one of the big stores where you get a million pieces of whatever for $2, you come home, you cook some of it, the leftovers go in the refrigerator, and the rest of it, the bulk of it, goes actually into the pantry or the freezer. So as your body is processing, think of your body in that way. So when you eat food, right, so that's like cooking the food. And then the leftovers go into the liver. That's the refrigerator. And then when the refrigerator gets full, when the liver gets full, the excess beyond that gets shuttled away into the pantry, and the pantry in the body is called fat cells. Some of it goes to muscle too, right? But you eat some, and this is where the body is using to process your mental function. So your brain is working, your lungs are oxygenating, your heart is pumping blood, your GI tract is digesting food, you're moving around, hair is growing, your skin is turning over, all the things that we need to do to keep the body going, that's being done by the food that you just ate, the initial part of that food. Any excess from that gets stored in the liver, the refrigerator, and then if the liver gets full, then it goes to the fat cells and to muscles. Okay? So during this early fasting state, what's happening is the blood sugars are going down, the insulin levels are going down, glucagon is coming up, and the body is using up now the stores that are in the liver, or as we say, the refrigerator. Right? So glycogenolysis, so there's breaking down glycogen, and it's converting glycogen into glucose or into sugar for the body to use. This is active at this point, and this is maintaining blood glucose levels. So people will say to me often, hey, I haven't eaten for 12 hours, and my blood sugar is still high. Or why isn't my blood sugar lower? And it's not high, or it is high, or it's not lower, because your body still has full access to all the glycogen that's stored in the liver. And until that gets depleted, your blood sugar will stay where it is. Okay, I mean, it'll come down a little bit, but you get the idea. Right? So the process that's going on right now is glycogenolysis, so breaking down glycogen into glucose. Right, so this is active, and this maintains the blood sugar levels, and the energy levels now are beginning to fluctuate a little bit because the body is using up the glucose in the liver, or glycogen, another word for that. And it's kind of like, have you ever seen like when you have a storm in your area and the lights start to flicker? Right, that's what's going on right now. So the body is in the process of getting ready, because right, so it's using up a lot of the glycogen, and it's starting to think, hey, wait a minute, we need to start looking for some energy somewhere. Okay, so the energy levels begin to fluctuate as the body's starting to transition from using circulating glucose. Right, so the food is now having to go to the refrigerator, right, to get food, and so it's circulating. Right, so the food that's circulating, is the blood sugar circulating, is going down, and now it's having to go to the liver to break down the glycogen to create energy, or to create sugar from that. And then 12 to 18 hours, right? 12 to 18 hours, and this is usually the phase. So the 12 that we just saw, people will do a 12 and 12 intermittent fasting, or they'll do a 16-8. Right, this falls right in that phase. So glucose levels are continuing to go down. They're going down, they're dropping, and this prompts the increase in fatty acid release from fat stores. Okay? So as the liver is using up the glycogen, and that's starting to go away, the body now is starting to look to fat cells. So we've used up the food that we cooked, back to our example. We've gone to the refrigerator and we're using up all the food that's in the refrigerator. And now we have to start looking at the pantry to say, okay, what's in the pantry that we can now take out and begin using? Okay, I love that example. I'm going to keep using that one. Okay? And so energy levels may drop. People may feel a drop in energy. Irritability can come. They feel more hungry, and their energy, the energy source begins to shift. So it's kind of like the hybrid car. So it uses gas and it uses the battery. And as the gas begins to leave or begins to go away, then it's having to switch over now to using the battery. So your body's beginning to use up the glycogen, and so now it's having to switch over to use the fat stores and converting that to energy. Okay, so we're shifting our energy uses. And then now to the 18 to 24 hours, and this now falls into the people who do 23-hour fast or even a 24-hour fast, right? So ketosis is beginning. So the glycogen is gone, and it takes about 24 hours for glycogen to totally go away. 24, sometimes a little longer. So glycogen stores are nearing depletion, and this leads to increased ketones as the liver metabolizes fat and converts that, y'all, into ketones. I love it. This is I love this part. I love it all, but this is the beauty, right? So once we get to this place where the body is now having to look to fat, then we get all the benefits, or a lot of the benefits that we talk about. That's where we get the weight loss. That's where we get the mental clarity. That's where we get the autophagy that kicks in, and autophagy now is ramped up. Right, we get the cellular repair. We get the cognitive improvement. Okay, so glycogen stores are nearing depletion. The body's now metabolizing fat, converting that to ketone. Autophagy starts to ramp up. And this clearing the damaged cells. Remember, autophagy is that process of getting rid of broken, damaged, unused cells. Is basically the recycling of the body, or the recycling system of the body. And autophagy is amazing because it goes out and it takes all those broken, unused, damaged, erroneous cells, and it recycles them and converts them into new cells. That's the benefit of autophagy. So processes that are going on, autophagy starts to ramp up, it's clearing, it's regenerating, right? And it's making healthier cells. Energy, initial stages of mental clarity may begin. So a lot of people say that as they get further into the fasting, they begin to feel clarity, right? A clarity that comes over them. And this is where we begin to see that. The brain function starts to pump up. I can't tell you the number of people that come to the office and they'll say to me, hey, I feel great. I feel great. It feels like I'm thinking clearer. It feels like I am on my game, right? I'm not sluggish. I used to be tired. I used to feel like I was in a fog all the time, but now I'm feeling much clearer, right? So as we get further and further into the fasting, it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful phase. And so that is our 18 to 24 hour period where ketosis is beginning. And then once we get beyond 24 hours, right? So now we're talking about going from 24 hours to 30 hours. Right, so fat adaptation. Fat adaptation is happening. So remember, we've been burning glycogen, burning glucose, and so the physical state here. So significant increase in ketones is happening. So the body is now fully in force, burning ketones or burning fat to convert it to ketones. And gluconeogenesis is happening as the body takes the fat, and we'll talk a little bit about the triglycerides in a minute. So fat oxidation increases, more fatty acids are converted into ketones, and energy levels begin to stabilize as the body now is fully committed to burning ketones. Okay? Beautiful, beautiful right there. People will ask me a lot, why are your blood sugars not lower? Right. So let's go back. Let's take a look at blood sugar. So I want you to notice that even now, right? So now we're 71, almost 71 hours into fasting, and my blood sugar is still 63. It's not zero. It's not zero. I guess that's the ultimate, right? So why is it still 63? And it's still 63 because the body has the ability to convert non-carbohydrate substances into carbohydrate, into fat. Into glucose. I said I was going to get. Let me see. Do I have that? Basically, a triglyceride, and you've heard that phrase before. Triglycerides are 3 fatty acid chains that are attached to a glycerol backbone. And the free fatty acids, of course, turn into ketones. That's what the body uses to convert to ketones. That's what we're saying, right? So we go from burning fat to burning ketones. But the glycerol part gets converted into sugar. So the body's able to take non-carb containing things and convert it into sugar. And I'm going to have to get that graphic at some point. Convert it to sugar, and that's why the blood sugar does not go to zero. Now, it is difficult to have a zero unless you are fasting for long, and when I say long, I'm talking beyond 72, 96, maybe a week or longer. And at those cases, we want to make sure that you are doing that under the direction of your physician. Okay. All right. So fasting. So 24 to 36 hours. The body has moved into fat adaptation. Okay. Energy levels are stabilizing, and we are now fully. It's like that hybrid car. Right. I heard somebody told a story recently that they were in the car with someone, and they kept seeing the gas gauge go lower and lower and lower and lower. And so they're getting worried because they're like, well, are we going to stop to get some gas? But the person said to them, hey, don't worry about it. This is a hybrid car. Right. It's a hybrid car, and we don't have to worry about it because we're good. We're good. And so the body now is good if you follow that. All right, so let me hop over and let's see. So Jennifer is saying, my Libre said that her after tomatoes, she was 112, and she said, I never guess on the levels, always wrong anyway. She's talking about me saying, hey, if you think you know what my ketones are gonna be. And then she says, half a fresh peach for dessert, Libre creeping up to 139. Eating a handful of cashews. Jennifer! Then we'll start a 14-hour fast. Jennifer, cashews. Now, you know what I did? So we're going on this trip. So I have a small can of cashews that I bought. It's in the bottom of my backpack that I'm taking with me. And I am going to get some almonds. I'm going to get those. I'm going to put it in the backpack. And that's what I'm going to be eating as I go. Now, one of the things I did, and you guys don't... Let me just tell you. So at our office, we get at the hospital, we get physicians. We get to go to the cafeteria and we get food. Well, this week I've not been getting food because, of course, I've been fasting initially those first 42 hours and then 72. But what I have been doing, I went down and I'm getting bags of chips, right? And so I'm getting these bags of chips as I'm preparing for the trip, but that is my usual. That's what I did prior, right? That was in my metabolic state, is what I'm calling it. My pre-healthy state. So I would, get chips, and so as you travel, and as you travel, you're bored. We're gonna, eat the chips. And so we're gonna be traveling for 13 hours, right? And so there was something I was planning to do, but I actually packed it in my duffel bag, and my duffel bag is in the front of the truck, beyond all the stuff. And so I went to look for it, and I was going to get it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't get to it. So I've got to find something else to do so that I'm not just putting my hands in and out of those bags of chips. But cashews, if you don't know, if it's your first time hearing, so cashews and almonds Those are my two things. Those are my healthy snacks that I eat too much of. Okay? And actually, this is a great place to talk about breaking the fast. Right? All right. So we ended on fat adaptation. And now I want to talk about breaking the fast. So when we break the fast, there are some pointers that I want to make sure that we are aware of. And so we're breaking the fast. We want to make sure that we're monitoring blood glucose levels. Now, I think everybody needs to monitor their glucose levels if they're dealing with metabolic disease. So it doesn't matter whether you're diabetic, whether you are struggling with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, polycystic ovarian syndrome, because you want to know what food is doing to your body. And monitoring is a great way of doing that. You guys see that I have, let me do this. So I have a couple of CGMs, right? A couple of continuous monitors. So I have a Libre on one hand and I have a Dexcom on the other. I've got my two monitors that you see that I use. And some of these I use because we here on the show, I want to make sure that you are seeing them and people have questions about them. But I love monitoring because it really keeps me focused. It lets me know where I should be. It lets me know the things that are causing issues for me. Right, so monitoring, very, very important. So make sure you are monitoring. There is an over-the-counter continuous monitor that's coming out soon that will be available. And if you have not written to your, insurance, your state representative, your government representatives, let them know that this is a huge issue, a huge deal, that we need access to this equipment and for this technology. Okay, so monitor blood sugars. Number 2, portion control. And that's the one that I struggle with, particularly for those where we are, well, let me back up. So because cashews and almonds are healthy, my brain says you can eat a lot of that, right? But that's not true. Because what I found quickly is that I could eat enough cashews to cause my blood sugar to go up to 200. Now, when I'm fasting, and you saw there a little while ago, my blood sugar is 66. But if I eat enough cashews, all of a sudden that 66 becomes 200, right? So even in your breaking the fast, you want to make sure that you're careful. So portion control. The next one is eat slowly. Eat slowly. Because often we are anticipating the end of the fast in our brains, right? We're planning. I give the story that when I first started fasting, I would save up all the food that I would have eaten that day or that week. And I would have it in the refrigerator and I'd bring it home because on Friday, or I'm thinking, okay, man, I'm going to eat this food because everybody else is having such a good time. They look like they're having a good time. I can't wait to eat the food. And what would end up happening is I would scarf the food down, right? And don't give my body and my brain enough time to catch up. So if you eat fast, you actually eat a lot more than you would if you kind of are doing mindful eating. Okay, watch our show on Monday. We'll be talking a little bit about mindful eating on that show. So make sure that you're eating slowly, and then avoid sugary processed foods. Remember, sugary processed foods, once you eat that sugar, the sugar goes up. When the sugar goes up, insulin has to come out. And insulin does a lot of things. One, it stimulates the appetite. It begins storing fat so that if you have a spike in your blood sugar because you've eaten something that's highly processed, something that's highly sugary, following that, you can eat broccoli or salad and your weight will go up, right? Because the insulin came out. So make sure that you are being mindful, avoiding sugary foods. This is particularly as you're breaking the fast, right? So don't break the fast with lots of sugary substances or highly processed. Make sure you're remaining hydrated. As I said, during the preparation, you want to make sure you're hydrated. During the fast, you want to make sure that you're drinking enough. And also at the end of fast, when you're breaking the fast, you need to make sure you're hydrated, make sure you're drinking enough water. You can use coconut water unsweetened, of course, because we just talked about processed and highly sugary. And then herbal tea you can use. Make sure you're having protein. Protein will blunt the rise in blood sugar, particularly if you're trying to remain in ketosis. Protein is very important. Eggs, chicken, turkey breast, tofu, tempeh for those of you who may be vegetarian or vegan, but make sure you're having some protein. And then healthy fats, avocados, nuts that are there, and seeds, right? So for me, nuts, great, but yeah, I don't have good control, okay? And then you can use broths, right? Often, and you've seen me here when we first started, we were doing broths. I think I'm going to get back to broth to break the fast and then kind of incorporate some other things later on. So vegetable broth or bone broth, very good. Make sure that you are, if you're not making it yourself, looking at the package, because if you're not careful, you can end up having a lot of sugar in the broth. So considerations when breaking a fast: choose foods that help you maintain stable blood glucose levels while offering you nutritional value and is gentle on the digestive systems. One of the questions I had this week is someone said to me that they post-fast find that they have to go to the bathroom. They have to eliminate very often. And what happens is when you're fasting, those cells that are in the GI tract, they kind of go to sleep. They kind of calm down. And when you start eating, they now have to begin making the mucus that lubricates your GI tract. And if you put a lot of stuff in, a lot of highly processed, spicy, heavy food, then those cells, they wake up and they've got to dump a lot of lubrication into your GI tract, and that results in that elimination that people will see. Okay, so focus on low glycemic index foods, lean protein, healthy fat, and make sure that you are hydrating. Okay, make sure that you're doing that. And that's the process of fasting. That's how fasting starts, preparing for the fast, how we get through the fast, the things that are happening in our body, and then of course breaking the fast. Make sure that you are following those if you're going to be fasting successfully, because the brain and the body will remember the last time you tried to fast. And if you don't do a good job, it'll convince you that you shouldn't do it because fasting didn't work. And it's not that fasting didn't work, but we didn't do a good job of getting into and out of the fast. Okay? And on that same note, on that line, I want to tell you about your unlimited potential, your unlimited ability to effect change in your body, in your mind, in your metabolic health. That all comes by educating yourself, empowering yourself, and encouraging yourself, which we do here on the show. We educate with the shows, with the blogs, with the podcasts that we do. We empower by the tools that we learn, and every month we have a new challenge, and that is a tool that you can use to put the things that you are learning to practice. And then we encourage with the community that you are part of, the community that we are building. Just like Jennifer came on and is saying hello. And then I see Corin Henry says, good night, cuz what medication is good for fatty liver? Okay. Fasting is a medication that's good for fatty liver, right? Because remember, when we're fasting, let me take a moment and let's talk a little bit about this. So, when I was a kid, my mom would go away and she would say, hey, clean the house. And of course, we wouldn't clean the house. We'd be running, doing all kinds of things. But when it's time for her to come home, then we start cleaning. And she would get in and the house is clean. You could eat off the floor, right? But if she looked in a closet, if she looked under the bed, if she looked in a cabinet, if she looked in a drawer, that's where all this stuff was. And so in our bodies, we can do a lot of things. Exercise, right? We can sensitize the body to insulin and all of that. If you're taking medication, your body is producing insulin and the blood sugar goes down, your A1C is good, but where did it go? Where did the sugar go? It didn't just vanish. Well, the sugar gets put into fat cells. It gets put into the liver, and that's where fatty liver can come from. And so decreasing insulin, decreasing sugar is a huge component of reversing fatty liver. Okay? So I want to give that to you. All right. So your unlimited potential, unlimited ability. Remember that here, the triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. And in this space, when you come, our call to action is join the challenges. Don't let them just be shows that you watch that are on the shelf. When you come, tell your story. Let us know what's going on. What successes are you having? What challenges are you having? Because we can come along and rally around you. And then, of course, invite somebody. Send them a link. Let them know that we are here. Let them know that they can be successful because they have unlimited potential, unlimited ability. If you've not already done so, check us out Sunday morning, 6 o'clock for This Week in Review, where we recast the shows that we've done with some commentary. Be sure to do that. This week coming up, we will have some special things for you. I will be off hanging out with some campers. You may see something come along from me out there, so you can see where we are a little bit. But make sure that you join us Monday, 7 p.m. Central, on Sunday, This Week in Review. As always, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new you. Good night, everybody. We'll see you Sunday morning at 7, This Week in Review, and then on Monday for Dwain Woode MD Live at 7 p.m. Central. Good night. Have a great weekend.